Okay, this is the exhaust manifold on the 6-cylinder, and this shows you a little bit better this choke housing. They bent this thing out of the way, so we're gonna see if we can get that off. That's really pretty tough. They've already got a broken bolt right there. If that's too tough, we might just leave it in place. But you can see pretty clearly that this gasket was gone, and it was blowing exhaust out that side. So other than that, I still haven't found any kind of fatal flaw on this, so we will reuse it. Unfortunately, our sandblaster's on the fritz. We'll probably replace these studs. Some of them are a little bit weak, and we'll make sure that these are in good shape. The intake portion of it, once again, you can see the corresponding part where that was blown out. This is actually pretty common. The big thing you have to worry about is the bolts that hold this together, especially this one right here that goes into the center part. You don't want to break those off. I had to use some heat on it. Put it on there for about a minute, minute and a half, and then work it back and forth. Just want to make darn sure that that does not break off in there, because then that's a big problem. So other than that, we're going to clean this up and fix up that manifold and then move on to the carburetor. One thing I do want to do is give a plug to this one outfit. I've dealt with them before. I don't get any compensation, but these guys are really good. They've got the parts, they know what they're doing. Mike will really take care of you. He's always treated me right, and it's reasonable prices and high quality stuff. So once again, we don't get any compensation from these guys. We just trade with them, and we like the kind of business that they do. So good parts, good service. Other than that, we are going to move on to fixing up this Chevy van some more. Okay, I wanted to explain some of the things I was doing on that time-lapse video. I was extracting these two studs. I was using at first a propane torch, but that was just taking way too long. Oxyacetylene, if you have it available, is going to be much hotter and it takes less time. So this one, I just got that almost red hot and grabbed onto it with a couple of nuts locked against each other, and that thing pulled out of there no problem. This one here was not quite so easy. That stud broke off on me, and I had to drill that out. So I drilled it and then put an extractor in there, and then the extractor slipped and that got stuck, so I had to beat that out. And then I drilled it out to the point where I can put a tap in there, and I went ahead and tapped it. But I don't know if you can see it, but that shiny silver part is part of the old stud. That one is still left in there because I did not get that exactly centered. And so it just chewed up it tapped part of the old stud. So it's still a worthy thread. You can see right there at the edge where that old stud starts. Now ideally I would tap that out for a helicoil, but the type of helicoil that I like is one that is going to be staked on 4 edges at the top, especially on this application here with the exhaust manifold. I don't have that type of helicoil, so I am going to let this go. I'm going to put in new studs, and then if I can get my hands on some of those staked helicoils, I will keep those in stock for the eventual repair on this exhaust manifold as well as others. So let me show you some of the items that I used. First of all, this is the stud that came out of there, and this is the one that I am going to, this is the one I'm going to use. You can see that this has a hex fitting on the bottom. Real handy for tightening these back up without having to put vice grips on the end or double nut them. It's just, I like them a lot better. It's just because you can tighten them up. You can also see that the threads on the old one are kind of chewed up just from the heat and corrosion. It's typical on exhaust parts. They just heat up and have a big issue with corrosion. So this is the style of extractor that I used. It's a blue point extractor, and it comes in a bunch of different sizes. And you can see I bent that, ruined it, but you're supposed to drill that stud out to a size that's larger than this. They give you the right drill bit, and then pound that piece in, and then this goes over the top, and then you turn it off. However, that didn't work for me. It just twisted. It's probably because I had this hot also, and that thing was just being stubborn. Anyway, that's the story on the studs and the extractors. I wanted to show you what one other piece on this, and that's this heat riser. Now this is typically used for extremely cold weather, like freezing temperatures and things like that. This one's broken. The other end of this bimetal spring should be on a slot in the shaft here. And what it normally would do, it would close this during very cold weathers, like freezing temperatures. And what that will do, you turn this around, is close that. See if I can balance this. It will close that. Excuse me. It will actually move it like that and allow exhaust gas to go from this side up over the top and then down. Normally it's in this position. And what that does is it directs exhaust gas to this passage here, because this piece goes right on top, and that will allow heat to build up on the bottom part of the base where the carburetor is. So I'm not going to worry about that. We don't have these extreme temperatures, so we're just going to let that slide. These exhaust manifolds are available aftermarket, but they don't have this provision. They don't have that piece in there. So anyway, that's the story on this exhaust manifold. We're going to clean it up some more and give it a nice paint job. Okay, we're back at it after a couple of days off. We spent some time chasing parts. We thought we had enough valve cover gasket for several vehicles. Turns out we didn't have any. So we went ahead and bought a few of those and also got a new head gasket. I like the Felpro stuff. It's really good. So we've got this exhaust manifold just brushed off with the wire brush. We don't have our sandblaster online, and we're gonna let this bolt go here. Kind of reached our limit on breaking off the studs on this exhaust manifold. We're still looking to get some helicoils in the intake manifold. Excuse me. These came out reasonably well. So we'll double check all of this and get to it. When we do the degreasing, we like this kind of stuff right here. This is not necessarily partial to the Gunk brand. I think Gunk is a good brand. But the thing I look for is this citrus based. It does a really good job, and it's a lot less chemical based. It's actually like an orange based, which I guess is a natural degreaser. So we like to use that. We're going to put that on there ahead of time, even though we're not going to power wash it here in the shop. We'll have that coated with some of that degreaser ahead of time, so that when we do drive it around, we'll run it over to the power wash, the car wash. We're still waiting for our carburetor kit, so we're not going to get started on that. And this intake manifold, I think what we're going to do is just grab an intake manifold off the shelf that we have already done. That'll save us some time on this, and we will let this particular one go. And we're not going to end up using that hot idle compensator, so didn't even check to see if that worked yet. But anyway, this one is a different model than most of the regular van ones. Usually there's a part cast into it. Let me show you that. I got a few intake manifolds hanging up. So this piece here is used for some of the linkage. I guess you find it on some. Yeah, this is on all three of the ones I have, all four. And this one is a little different. This one's a little heavier duty. I don't know if that came off of 292. I'm not sure. But anyway, that's the difference on that. The other thing that we're gonna do is, Frank said that he never had a key for any of his doors. He's got one for the ignition, of course, but not being able to lock up this van, I think is something I'm just not gonna let slide. It was kind of bothering me. I don't know why, but I want to do Frank a solid, so I took off the side panel there, and also wanted to show you, this is how these door locks are held on. They're held on with a clip. Anybody that's had one of these out will know that. Let me see if I can get a look at that. All right, so you can just see that clip going up and down, and all you got to do is pull that out, and then that lock falls out, or it can be removed. Interestingly, what they did on this back door, I guess they lost the clip, and let me see if I can get this. There we go. They wrapped it up with tape, duct tape. So it didn't seem loose or anything, but that was kind of, I've never seen that before. I guess it works. I don't know how much trouble it was to wrap that thing up in with duct tape. But anyway, we'll go ahead and get him a clip. We took a look down on the bottom to see if there was anything that we could find down there. Actually, it looks like there's a bungee cord. I wonder my magnet didn't pick that up. Let's see if I can get my arm stuck in there to grab that. So And the only other thing we found was a couple of, well, one of these, and that's what holds on the emblem, and they hook them up through those holes there. So Chevrolet, yeah. Anyway, that's where we're at right now. So back to it.